So the theme for this in December is the metaphysical meaning of Christmas, which I told you last week I'd talk about today. And the topic that I want to talk about today is the meaning of Christ in Christmas. Because each of us partakes of that Christ consciousness to the degree that we allow it to express by means of us. Another way of saying this is that we put on the Christ to the degree that we surrender a limited sense of life to the divine realization of wholeness and of unity with that Spirit. So this is the great presence of life at the point of our own consciousness. The Christ consciousness is that of our own individual humanness embracing our divinity. So every year at this time, what comes up for me is to enjoy the spirit of this season, whatever that represents to me and to each individual, because obviously it's not the same throughout the world. It's not the same throughout various cultures, throughout various religions, and throughout various commercial approaches. It has a variety of meanings. And whatever that is, that meaning for you, let that express through you. Let yourself be the season. Be the reason for celebration. Give thanks in all things. I really believe this is a time of the year that we get to remind ourselves to celebrate life. This is a time of awakening, a time of rebirthing, if you will, of renewing. And whether it's in the traditions, the rituals, the colorful lights, the music, the gifts, the cards, the tasty foods, it's what speaks to each one of us that reminds us to celebrate life. It's no coincidence, there's that word again, that so many of our major religions have special holidays and activities around this time of the year, as we all prepare to welcome the new year. That offers us all the choice, the options, the ways to experience our own way of renewing. And I believe it's also a time when we can renew our understanding and our acceptance of the power within us. Because within each one of us, there is this conception of divinity, which is always active. It's always pushing to spring forth. And as we let ourselves acknowledge that, acknowledge its existence, and realize its persistence, it's born and reborn in us all the time. So this is what's really behind the love, the excitement, the pleasure of the holiday season. We're reminded of the precious virtues, the attributes of our Creator, the synchronicity within which life unfolds. And when this Spirit moves in you, it doesn't matter which story, which ritual, which kind of celebration you participate in. What matters is that you have received the power of your creative source. And you're experiencing it fully. You're in harmony with life. You're allowing that Christ consciousness to express. This is a time of year when there is always much talk of peace on earth, goodwill toward humankind. Each year, as we become more mindful of the value of this intention, and certainly this very last week, the last few weeks, we are called to become more mindful of the value of this intention, peace on earth, and what it takes to to bring even greater meaning and greater insistence in our individual lives. So it's about allowing ourselves to realize with greater intensity and greater poignancy each year that peace only occurs when one becomes receptive to the idea of peace. As individual members of the human race, we must be calm, we must be poised, and we must be as driven for peace as anyone has ever been to remove it or destroy it. We must be in constant remembrance that God, Spirit, Yahweh, Allah, divine intelligence, whatever name we choose to call that creator of us all, whatever we choose to call it, be in constant remembrance that that which creates does not destroy or damage any of its creation. Let me say that again. That which creates does not destroy or damage any of what it creates. Teacher Jesus spoke these words, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." These words are timeless and universal and worthy of being uttered by each of us. One of the things that we see and we hear during the holiday months is how precious it is to be together with friends and family for the holidays. The flurry of buying and wrapping presents, the stress of shopping and cooking, these all can seek a level of peace, of ease, of joy in our lives as we remember who and what is really precious for us. So now is the time to set aside any grievances, any disagreements. It's a time to reaffirm peace, calm, and poise in our own hearts. And as we do that in our own lives, and in the lives of those near and dear to us, we set the stage. First in our own home, then in our family, then in our community, and then we set that stage worldwide, universally even, to develop and maintain a sense of peace. So receive the power of peace from God, from Source. Allow that to be what guides you. And one of the things, of course, that we choose to be open to and to receive in these holiday times is that of the Christ consciousness. Christmas is a time when we look at the birth of new ideas, new ways of relating to our lives and how we live them. Christmas is a time when we look at the birth of richness, abundance, and the appreciation of that, even in the most modest of circumstances and the most modest surroundings. Christmas is a time to see wonder in all life, to see differences from afar coming together in acknowledgement and in agreement. And you know what? Those three statements are the story of the Nativity from the metaphysical point of view. Number one, looking at the birth of new ideas, new ways of relating to our lives and how to live them. Number two, appreciating richness and abundance even in the most modest of circumstances, the most modest surroundings. And number three, seeing the wonder of all life as differences come together in acknowledgement and in agreement. So I would also invite you to remember that the story of the birth of Jesus is actually the story of the birth of Christ consciousness in each one of us. It's the awakening of the realization of universal oneness. That's the message. It's the recognition of the power of balance and harmony. It's the receiving of a consciousness of peace and love. It's our own revelation of the indwelling presence of God within. Each of us is a way in which God is born into physical and conscious being, not just on December 25th, but every day and through each one of us. So this is a time to allow ourselves to accept the power of joy from God. It's what illuminates us and allows that light of truth to shine from us. It's a time to allow ourselves to accept the power of harmony from Spirit. It's what inspires us. This is a time to allow ourselves to accept the power of peace from Spirit. It's what guides us. And this is a time to allow ourselves to accept the power of the Christ consciousness from divine intelligence. It's the truth of our being. And during this holiday season, let our prayers be that this source of unconditional peace, unconditional joy, unconditional love and givingness is granted full expression in each of and all of its creation. Let's remember and rejoice that God moves in mysterious ways, its wonders to perform. Even though we don't always see that or yet understand it. Let's accept this good news for ourselves, and let's acknowledge it in all peoples, everywhere, in every moment. And so it is.